You're listening to Beyond Wellness Radio, bringing you the cutting edge in health, biohacking, and sports performance. Stay up to date and listen anywhere and anytime on your computer, tablet, or smartphone by subscribing on iTunes. Catch your host, Dr. Justin Marchegiani, as he answers your burning health questions as well as interviews from world-renowned guest experts. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.
Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio. Feel free and head over to beyondwellnessradio.com where you can access our full podcast transcriptions. While you're there, you can also sign up for our thyroid and female hormone video series. This series goes into the root cause of why your hormones are out of balance. While you're there, you can also schedule a functional medicine consult with Dr. Justin, myself, where we'll dig deeper into the root cause of your health challenges. Feel free and think of sharing this podcast with at least one person. This podcast grows by people sharing it. Sharing is caring. If you can think of one person that can benefit from this information, please feel free and share it. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you subscribe on iTunes. You can also click below the video or podcast where you'll see the iTunes review button and leave us a review. You can also sign up for the newsletter at beyondwellnessradio.com where you'll get updates before anyone else. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. And we're back. We're live on YouTube and Facebook. Evan, how are we doing today, man?
Hey, what is going on? Good old technology.
I know. Excellent. I guess you got the memo. It's the Blue Polo Day.
Yes, sir. Happy Friday.
It. Yeah, I got my Lululemon on. We got to get them as a show sponsor. I love their clothes.
I agree. That would be a great sponsor.
That would be great. You gave me that idea the other day, so I like that. I'm going to jump on board with it.
Yeah, so this idea, what we're going to discuss today, we're going to discuss some allergy issues, sinuses, ear infections, which a lot of this could apply to children, but adults too. I mean, this is something we deal with all the time. We hear about it all the time. Totally. There's a lot of fear-mongering all the time about ear infections, and that's one of the most common reasons that children are getting put on antibiotics. That's like their first exposure to antibiotics is they get an ear infection. So we should dive in. This is going to be fun.
100%. So you're listening on Facebook. I'm going to pin down a link so you can access the video on YouTube Live, because YouTube Live is where we're going to have the back and forth until we get the Facebook set up. So Evan, how's your day going, man? It's Friday morning. Really excited.
It's great. I've got the window open. It's going to be 80 degrees today. The birds are chirping. The grass is green and growing. I can't complain.
I love it. Oh, by the way, I got an awesome announcement for just for me and you and listeners. My wife and I will be expecting our first baby this fall. So we are super excited, and it's a boy too. So
that is awesome.
Hence why I'm wearing the blue today, the baby blues.
Love it, man. Congrats.
Thank you. Excellent. Well, what'd you have for breakfast, Evan?
Did I eat today? Yeah, I had bison jerky and some matcha tea.
Matcha. Love it.
That was it. Actually, I just finished out the matcha. Now I've got some vitamin C here. I'm drinking about 3 grams of vitamin C with some good clean water, and that's it. I was going to do some berries this morning. My wife got some blackberries yesterday, but I decided against and just went with the bison jerky. So I'm probably in a slightly ketotic state right now, which I feel pretty good, and my brain's working.
That's excellent, man. Very, very good. Today, I had some high-quality coffee with some butter and MCT, and I put about 10 to 20 grams of collagen in it. And then after the podcast today, I'm going to make a nice little green drink, add a little MCT to that, some fresh organic green vegetables, maybe a little carrot to sweeten it up, and then some more collagen onto that, just so I get some good fat, some good protein, and some good micronutrients. So really, really excited there.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
Absolutely. Well, let's dig in. We talked about yesterday, kind of in our pre-set up for the podcast, about talking about sinus and ear infections and the natural solutions we can do to help address sinus and ear infections. So what do you think about that?
Totally. Yeah, let's hit it. Like I mentioned in the beginning, ear infections are going to be the most common reason that kids and children are going to be put on antibiotics. A lot of times ear infections are preventable, which we can talk about because food allergies are going to be one of the most common causes that you can modify. And so we can talk about the influence of dairy, your sugars, your fruit juices, your grains, your gluten, your sodas. I mean, all these things that are impacting your immune system, that's going to set you up for potential ear infections. And honestly, a lot of children that you and I work with, they've likely had tubes put in because the doctor fearmongers them. And there's actually no evidence that ear tubes actually even work that much. Mercola's got a lot of great studies about this, showing that in the short term, the ear tubes that get put in can reduce the time with the middle ear infection, but that in the long term, there is no long-term benefit of tubes. And so, I quote one of the studies here, said tubes and watchful waiting does not differ in terms of language, cognitive, or academic outcomes. Basically, they don't do much. And a lot of times, what about the adenoids too? I mean, a lot of people get their adenoids removed for these things. And that seems a bit extreme.
Yeah, and I can speak from personal experience because I had tubes many, many times. I had chronic ear infections as a child. Now, here's kind of the vicious cycle, right? Because we've talked about, and we'll put here, we have some really good studies that we're going to put down below looking at the microbiome connection. That's kind of the gut microbiota and its connection with healthy ears, right? Healthy ear flora health, right? So if we have ear infections, because of other reasons, which we'll go into, and then we start taking antibiotics for those ear infections, that then disrupts the microflora, and that creates further imbalances that will perpetuate more and more frequent ear infections down the road. So you see the vicious cycle that conventional medicine really throws down is they're not addressing the root cause of why these things happen in the first place. And then they give medications that actually work to treat the symptoms in the short run, but then actually perpetuate a need for more of that intervention and more of these problems. And then I can't tell you how many patients, the patients that I see that have been on more antibiotics throughout their life tend to be sicker and they're the hardest to work with because of chronic gut infections, chronic gut inflammation, and extreme food sensitivity because their gut microflora is so screwed up. So we really want to mitigate the use of antibiotics only to like absolutely must-haves. Now, if I go back in time and look at the things that drove me to have all the ear infections, gluten and dairy was huge. And part of the big reason why is I think that it affects the microflora. It creates more of an inflammatory environment, but it also is going to affect lymphatics. Because I remember my ears always feeling like there was like crap in it. Like I would like go swab it when I was younger and there'd be so much junk in it. And my ears always felt full. So I do believe the research shows some lymphatic increases when these inflammatory foods are there. So the lymph is all this fluid that interplays between the tissue and the blood. And the more sluggish that is, right, the more viscous that gets, that can create the ability for that stuff to hang out longer and potentially perpetuate infections. So making sure those foods are out really help. Go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, so before we get into kind of the functional approach to all of this, we should talk about some of the side effects. So you mentioned what happens with antibiotics, and now there's research that shows that antibiotics cause permanent damage to the DNA. So this is not something benign where you're on the antibiotic for 4 or 6 or 8 weeks or even like a 7-day
Yes.
Z-Pack. This is lifetime impact. And I think we should probably add the question to our intake form when we're working with our new clients. How many rounds of antibiotics have you
already on my intake form?
over your lifetime, though? I mean,
yeah,
a lot of times I bet people would not even have a count because it could be in the dozens of times. I typically ask like every 2 to 3 years, like what's the last 2 to 3 year history of antibiotics? But I feel like we should almost say over the life, how many have you had?
I have that exact question on mine. I had one patient like a month or two ago. They said between 0 and 5 years of age, they had 120 antibiotic prescriptions.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh my God, like you gotta be kidding me.
That's ridiculous. I mean, they are passed out like Skittles, which is unfortunate. Now, let's talk about side effects. I mean, if you are getting tubes, for example, then you could potentially have hearing loss from that. I've read about some cases of hearing loss. You've got calcification of the tissue in the middle ear, and then also getting the adenoids removed, which I don't know why, but they always say, oh, let's go ahead and remove your adenoids too as we put in these tubes. And then, I mean, you've got risk of hemorrhage, you've got bleeding issues, you've got potential infection sites that could pop up where you got the surgery removed. I mean, it's just crazy. My wife, when she was a nanny down in Austin, the kids that she was a nanny for, every day, literally, if the kids were fussy, the mom would say, hey, if they ever get fussy, just give them ibuprofen or Tylenol or Motrin, give them just because they're fussy. And a lot of times she said I would try to just not give them the dose. I would act like I'm dosing them the medication, but my wife knew what it was doing to their guts. And then, of course, these kids get sick. they get on antibiotics, then both kids had tubes, then both kids had their adenoid surgery. It's just crazy. So yeah, let's talk about diet. I mean, you hit on gluten and dairy, but food intolerances are going to be huge. And then also for me, a big one is going to be, which if you're an adult now, it's too late, but whether you were breastfed or whether you were formula fed, because breast milk is like the most ultimate superfood ever.
Absolutely. So you said a couple of things I want to backtrack on for the listeners. You mentioned the adenoids, and the adenoids and the tonsils are really that first vessel for the lymphatic system to come in contact with crud in our environment. So the adenoids are kind of like in the upper sinus back area, where the tonsils are in the back of the throat. So it's like tonsils, adenoids, and they're that first vessel for the lymphatic system. And that lymph is designed, think of it as like the air filter in your house or the filter in your pool. It's really designed to pull up a lot of that crud. Now, the thing is, if we're constantly driving a ton of inflammation and a ton of crud's going in there, it's like getting a smoker in your house. What's your air filter going to look like in a couple of weeks, a couple of months? It's going to be black. Now, what's going to happen when that air filter gets so clogged that the pressure is increasing, and now the HVAC and the heater has to work so hard? Now the heater's heating up, i.e. we're having infections, right? Well, guess what conventional medicine would do? They would say, let's just pull out the air filter and put a new one, right? But in the real world example, right, when you pull the tonsils out and the adenoids out, it's gone. You don't put a new one in, right? So it's like, let's just pull out the air filter and just leave nothing there, because now nothing gets clogged, right? But holistically and functional medicine wise, we say, hey, you're smoking in my house, get the hell out, right? You're clogging up my filter, get out of here, right? That's kind of the solution. Now, the smoke is coming from the smoker in your house, but in our real world example, it's coming from a lot of the foods, especially refined sugar. It's coming from refined dairy. It's coming from gluten, of course, and obviously getting, lack of breast milk is going to be huge. I did not get a chance to have breast milk that long as a child, all right? Did not. Only a couple of weeks. It's kind of like that thing. I really wish I could go back in time. I'm like, Mom, you needed to breastfeed me longer. She said it was, I didn't want it. Whatever. I'm a baby. I didn't know any better. Come on. But in general, that's what I would have wanted to have happened. But so breast milk's a big thing, right? Having that breast milk for at least that first 6 months, minimum a year. World Health Organization says 18 months. I try to at least get all my patients to do a year. That's super, super important for starting the cascade of good microbiome health, and thus affecting the ear too.
Yeah. Now, if you're an adult, and like myself too, I was formula fed for most of my baby years. I mean, there's nothing we can do now but work forwards. So this is getting the testing run now. So if you're an adult and you have had ear infections, or you had your tubes in, or you had the adenoids removed, well, you got to get yourself tested, because 9 out of every 10 clients that we test, we're going to find some type of issue in the gut. And this is bacterial in nature, which could be from previous antibiotic use. This is yeast. So we're talking candida. Mainly we're looking for albicans and SPP, although there's about 20 different species of candida. And then we're looking for parasites too, because anything that's going to damage the gut barrier can also leave you susceptible to ear infections, sinus problems, any type of allergies, because your gut is basically the foundation. So you don't necessarily have to go straight to the ear, which we're going to talk about some ear treatments that you can do to fix ear infections and these problems. But a lot of times, do you agree this has to start in the gut? We've got to make sure that you've got a healthy gut and a healthy blood-brain barrier and a healthy, basically a sealed up gut, for lack of a better term.
100%. It all starts in the gut. It all starts with the food. Now, I've seen parents online, and I jump on there, and they're like complaining about their kid's ear infection. And I'm just like, all right, I'll be a good Samaritan doctor, and I'll be like, hey, do this, do that. And it's always ignored. Like, I look at all the likes in the comments. People are like, oh, poor thing, get this done, get antibiotics. And then my comment that actually addresses the solution goes like unanswered, kind of ignored, because it actually involves making some changes. So I think people are getting the idea that the conventional solutions for these things aren't working and creating more problems. But, it's definitely some extra effort that you have to do. But in the end, I remember having tubes and chronic ear infections for so long, up into my even early teens. It was terrible. I was miserable. Now, I didn't get a lot of the sinus stuff. My brother got a lot of the sinuses. But in my opinion, whether it's ears or sinuses, it's just the weak link in the chain. The same mechanism that's affecting the sinus issues is the same thing that's affecting the ear issues.
Yep. Well said. What about allergies too? I mean, you and I talk a lot about this stress bucket. And so what you and I were talking about before we went live is how many people have allergies. And it's almost portrayed as it's a normal thing. But I always tell people just because something's common, like say an ear infection or sinus issues or allergies, that doesn't mean that it's normal. And you've got these Claritin commercials and you've got these other pharmaceutical drugs that get on TV and they make it seem like needs everybody needs that. Everybody has allergies. The outdoors, it's just a crazy environment. There's grass and trees and flowers. And oh my God, you're not meant to live outdoors. You're meant to live in your little bubble. And anytime you go outdoor, well, you need our pharmaceutical protection. And that's just crazy. If you do have environmental allergies, there's likely some deeper stuff going on that could be adrenal related. It could be gut related, the yeast, the bacteria, the parasites. It could be detox problems. If you've got sluggish liver, if you're not digesting your foods well, if you've got food sensitivity, so you've not removed the gluten and the dairy from the diet, that stress bucket's full. Then you go outside and then you do get allergies, which gives you the sinus problems, and maybe that gets worse and worse and turns into some type of ear problem. We had a question from, let's see, it was Genesis on here. He said, why do my ears ache when it's windy? What's your take on that? To me, I would just say you got to get your gut checked, but I'm not sure why that would happen.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of vague. Typically, the more inflamed certain parts of the body are, the more sensitive to certain things it will be. Like if I'm chronically inflamed, just shifting my manual car may create some elbow inflammation. Now, is the shifting of the car really the problem? No, it's the room full of gasoline or the room full of gas fumes, and it's that small little match that burns down the house. Even though the match went off, it was the inflammatory environment of all the gas fumes that are hanging out. That's the issue. So I was always look at the underlying inflammatory environment that's setting up the milieu to then when that spark goes off to create that issue, and that spark being essentially the wind there.
Yep. Well said. I want to go back to not just making it an anti-antibiotic podcast, but I do want to mention the fact that even the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, they write that ear infections will often get better on their own without antibiotic treatment. Taking antibiotics when they're not needed is harmful. Unwanted side effects like diarrhea, rashes, nausea, stomach pain. More serious side effects can occur, which can include life-threatening allergic reactions, kidney toxicity, severe skin reactions. And each time your child takes an antibiotic, the bacteria that live in the body, skin, mouth, intestine, and now we know that there's a microbiome of the ear. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. The microbiome of the ear everywhere. I mean, vaginal canal, gut, everything. It's all interconnected for sure. So also a couple of side effects with the antibiotics that we really didn't talk about is the mitochondria. The mitochondria are like these little powerhouses of the cell that generate ATP, which is the currency of energy in which our body functions. And that's so important for optimal energy. I mean, Dave Asprey's got a book coming out, or it's coming out very soon. He'll be here in Austin next week, called Headstrong. And it's all about basically improving your mitochondria. And your mitochondria is so important. Just Google mitochondria and antibiotics, and you'll see a strong connection. We put some of these links in previous podcasts. I'll let the viewers here do your homework on it. We'll post a reference section in the bottom. Antibiotics and mitochondria. And you'll find that there's significant disruption of the mitochondria with antibiotics. And obviously it's dose dependent, right? The more you do it, the more you use it, the potential that increase has to happen. So that's another mechanism. Now we can talk about some solutions. Anything else you want to address, Evan, before we actually dig into some solutions?
Sure. I'd like to just pile on top of the mitochondrial thing you mentioned. You know, a lot of clients come to us with brain fog and chronic fatigue as well as a starting place. So maybe they've had these type of infections, but they've also got chronic fatigue, and you just brought up the word mitochondria. So it sounds like to me, we could infer based on someone's use and history of antibiotics that we could infer, well, here's a root cause of chronic fatigue is the mitochondria that's been damaged from antibiotics. So that's really going to make us have to do a lot more work on supporting mitochondrial health, but then getting the gut back in check too.
Absolutely. And then also cortisol. I mean, if we're bringing babies into this world that are adrenally depleted, and again, this is kind of weird, but if a woman is stressed, especially that during pregnancy, you can activate certain epigenetics that will start exacerbating or stimulating that baby's adrenal gland in the third trimester. And the more stressed that mom is throughout pregnancy, you're activating certain epigenetics, but you're also in that third trimester going to be stimulating the baby's adrenal glands. So if you bring a baby into this world with a lot of adrenal dysfunction off the bat, they may have an inability to regulate inflammation in general because they're not spitting out enough cortisol. Now, we don't ever want to treat a baby directly, supplement wise. We would do it by getting the mom really healthy. The only thing I'd recommend to a child probably off the bat, if they're having issues, is probiotics. And then we could talk about maybe some homeopathic drops or some natural solutions that we put in the ear topically to hit the area very focused versus do a systemic kind of atom bomb drop.
Yeah, well said. I thought that was crazy 3-4 years ago when I heard the fact that you could basically steal your baby, your fetus, adrenal glands. This is why some women report feeling so good during pregnancy. And some of it could be that they're deriving some of their boost from the adrenals of the baby. And then you give birth. Now, instead of having 4 adrenals that you're deriving energy from, you've got 2 adrenals, just yours, that you're deriving energy from. And some women have kind of that postpartum, either Hashimoto's or some type of postpartum depression. So yeah, that's a trip. There was a question here. Can your sinuses get clogged for years? I mean, I would say absolutely. What do you think? If you've got these food allergies in your diet for years, then yeah, you could stay clogged up all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So that congestion can happen. Now, we also have to look at physical structure issues, especially in the nasal area. So being a chiropractic doc, you really want to make sure that you are well adjusted. Like, make sure you at least see a good chiropractor once a month. Make sure your cervical spine and everything is doing well, number one. Number two, you may have some turbinate issues with these bones up here in the spine. You may need a technique called nasal specific, where they put these balloons up and they can help declog any of these turbinate issues, whether from trauma or malformation. And again, Weston A. Price talks about poor nutrition. One of the things that happens is there's narrowing of the middle third, where this area here is broken into a third, and a third. And the more nutritionally deficient the parent was that brought you into this world, this middle third starts to narrow. So one of the biggest signs of gluten sensitivity and poor nutrition is a narrowing middle third and a very large upper third. So when you see people walking down the street with that big forehead and you see that smaller middle third or that smaller lower third, gluten deficiency, poor nutrition of the parents, big time, off the bat. So again, some of this we can't really change, right? Like the parent stuff, that's all epigenetic stuff, but we can at least be aware that when we're bringing kids and babies into the world, right, we got to get the nutrition dialed in. That's number one. Number two, chiropractic's helpful on the spine as well as the nasal canal, nasal specific. And then also acutely, chiropractic can be great for the canal of the child or the person with the ear issue. Now, when you're younger, the ear canal tends to be more parallel, right? So it won't drain as well. You don't have that draining angle. So one of the things that some chiropractors will do is, pull my earphone out, they'll do a specific adjustment where they rotate the ear, they pull it, and they rotate it in clockwise, and they tug. And that tug kind of opens up the nasal canal and will allow some of that junk to drain. Now, is that root cause? No. Is it palliative without very little side effects and not affecting the microbiome and inflammation? Yes. So it's really good from a palliative perspective. Again, spine, really good. Nasal, really good. And then the ear adjustment, that's a next really good step.
That's great. Now, what happened with my wife, I believe, I don't know if we were swimming in the ocean or where we were, but she came home and her ear was just clogged. And we thought, well, man, this is going to turn into an ear infection because she had this water that was just in her ear for like a week. And I said, Justin, what do I do? He said, Evan, you've got to go get these eardrops. Do you remember that when that happened?
Yep.
And
yeah, that was the citricidal eardrops. Those are great. A little bit of grapefruit seed extract in there. Those eardrops are phenomenal. And also, man, hydrogen peroxide, 3%. It's like $2 at your drugstore. Just a little cap full of that. It'll bubble like crazy. Leave it in there till the bubbling stops, and then you can dump it out. But that was my go-to ear infection. I was water skiing on Lake Travis 2 years ago, and I took a header, and I perforated this eardrum, and a whole bunch of bacteria and crap from the lake got in there. And one of the things I did was hydrogen peroxide, and I diluted with a little bit of silver. So hydrogen peroxide, silver. That way I could just clear that crud right out.
That's amazing. Now, when you did that to your eardrum, was there any other bad side effects? What happened?
Just the side effects of a perforated eardrum. It's irritated. It's inflamed. When you have an ear issue, man, it screws everything up because just sounds that come in are just like balance. Just you're over hyped up, so everything is irritating and kind of bothers you. I'd have my wife just leave me alone for a few days, but then we just do all the good things to help with the inflammation and all the good healing nutrients. I use the Semelsins. They have a really good homeopathic ear drop that we used. I used the citricidal ear drops. I used some silver and I used some hydrogen peroxide, and I kind of just rotated those. And growing up, hydrogen peroxide was absolutely phenomenal for the ear because it's just so cheap and it's great. And actually, that's a natural flu or cold kind of cure, because they say a lot of ways the viruses kind of vector into your body is through the ear. So just doing like a little capful of that 3% hydrogen peroxide can really knock out potentially any viruses or bacteria making their way into the body.
Well, I think I told you when I met with one of the higher ups at Designs for Health, which is a professional healthcare company, if people are listening, I met with one of the higher ups, and he said he travels like 250 days a year, and he's always concerned about picking up sinus infections or ear infections from being on airplanes all the time. And one of his preventative measures was he was taking the silver in a spray bottle, and he would spray his ear canals, and then he would spray his nose, right? Kind of like a barrier protection around his holes of his nostrils and his ears. And the guy never got sick. So something to say about that.
I love it. Totally makes sense. So off the bat, we kind of have the preventative stuff with the mom to baby and stress and the adrenals. Obviously, trying to have a vaginal birth is going to be essential because of the activation of the bacteria in the vaginal canal and how that affects the child's immune system. Number two, if you can't get, for some reason, an emergency happens where the cord gets wrapped around the child, the child's oxygen levels drop, and you have to have a C-section or the baby's breech. Number one, see a chiropractor beforehand, get Webster technique to get that baby to go head first. But let's say you can't prevent that. Number two, go in there. And again, the doctor and the midwife probably won't do this. So you'd have to get in there with a good swab your wife's vagina area. And then afterwards, when that baby comes out, you swab the baby with it because the baby would be getting exposed to that anyway, and now it's not. So do a good swab, put it in like a little baggie, and then after the C-section, then you can, when you're doing skin to skin, have that baby all swabbed on. Now, don't tell the doctor or nurse what you're doing, because they probably will look at you like 10 heads. And this is, I told my OB about this ahead of time, and she's like, oh, well, you can do that, but just keep it to yourself. We don't have a problem with it, but just keep it to yourself. So that's what we're doing if that does happen. So have a backup plan, ideally.
Totally. And why does that have to be so hush hush? I don't understand what the deal is.
Well, in conventional medicine, there's a conveyor belt, man. Like, here's what you do. Here's the cookbook, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And anytime you put a kink in that step or something that disrupts that flow, everyone perks up and is like, what's happening? So the more you can just lull them to keep that procedure going, it's ideal.
Makes sense. Yeah, I had a client I'm trying to think of who it was. It was either yesterday or the day before, and she actually went to her conventional doc just to show the lab test, the organic acids test, and he's like, this isn't even a valid test. I've never heard of this before. It's like, just because you've never heard of organic acids testing doesn't mean it's not valid. And he tried to say that instead of the herbs that we're going to use for candida, that she should just be using diflucan, and which is a prescription, which is just unnecessary. So it's just crazy.
There can be a lot of side effects with diflucan. I tried it before with a fungal infection in the past, because I was trying all these different things. And one of the big side effects I found was lightheadedness. That drug caused a ton of lightheadedness, like insane.
That's scary.
Yeah, and then there's some research that it can cause some neurological problems too. So, some people, it may not be a bad thing if you're combining it with herbs and everything else, and it's just a part of the program. But just as like hey, don't change your diet, don't do anything else, just take this, probably not going to be the best long-term solution.
Yeah. So I think we've kind of jumped around. We've jumped into some solutions and side effects and all of that. So, really, diet's going to be first step. Getting a nutrition plan in place, it's going to be more like a paleo or autoimmune paleo diet, potentially getting rid of your grains, your sugars. Of course, your sodas, your juices got to go. Pasteurized dairy, it's got to go. I remember for me with my skin, you were like, Evan, even though it's organic grass-fed cheese, you still got to cut it out. And
yeah, your skin looks so much better compared to last year.
I know. So I had to get rid of it, even though I miss it and it was delicious. I'd rather feel good and, have better skin. So you've got to get out the dairy, except for butter. Sometimes people can do okay with butter. And the wheat, I mean, we talked about that, but any type of gluten issues, you're going to be creating the intestinal permeability. Even if you don't have celiac, doesn't matter. The gluten's still going to affect the gut, which is therefore going to make you more susceptible to ear infections and allergies and sinus problems. Secondhand smoke, you talked about that a little bit, that analogy, but yes, there's research that secondhand smoke also increases the risk of ear infections for children. So if you're going over to a family's house or someone in the family smokes and then they want to hold the baby, don't let them do that. Also, if you are going to bottle feed for some reason, apparently bottle feeding while lying down increases your risk of ear infection. So you want to try to bottle feed the baby in an upright position, which that's something that I just learned this morning with some research, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Also, the quality of the food that the mom eats has a huge effect on the baby. Okay, I'll give you an example, all right, from my neighbor. Their child had a really difficult time sleeping continuously, up every half hour. The big thing that they did is they pulled out eggs, and it was one nightshade family. It may have been eggs and tomatoes. And that one tweak changed the composition of the breast milk, and the baby slept like just magic. So quality of breast milk is incredibly important, and it's dependent upon what the mom eats. So off the bat, if you're having issues with your child off the bat, even if it's just sleep or ears, get your diet super, super clean. Super, super clean. Just because you're feeding a baby or growing a baby, it's not a license to eat whatever the heck you want. Nutrient density is incredibly important. With my wife being pregnant, I mean, we're doing lots of things to increase nutrient density. She gets exposure to a little bit of liver every day. She does a green smoothie with organic vegetables in the morning. We mix in some MCT oil there. We do some collagen. She gets some organic pasture-fed eggs and pasture-fed bacon from time to time. And then she's eating 3 solid meals a day and maybe 1 good, clean, healthy organic shake in there, and really mitigating stress, and some probiotics and some magnesium to keep the bowels moving. Because when you get pregnant with the HCG and all that stress down there, it can create some issues with regularity. So I don't want to go too much into that, because that's a separate podcast, but we could do a podcast marathon and be here for 8 hours straight. I think YouTube allows us to do 8 hours straight. So we should push that one time.
We could do a marathon. So we hit on the eardrops. There's garlic eardrops too that I've read about. I've personally not used those. I've only used the grapeseed extract. Also, breast milk for eardrops. If you have a small little dropper, you can use breast milk for eardrops, and it's going to be safer, less expensive, far better than antibiotics. Also, I don't know if you've read about this, but coconut oil eardrops apparently exist, where basically, I mean, all I would do, I wouldn't go buy a specific drop. I would just take a little bit of coconut oil, heat it up a bit, and then put it into a container.
Exactly.
Coconut. You're going to get the caprylic acid in there, which is probably going to be the best thing. What else? You've got capric acid in there too, that maybe is going to act as a natural antimicrobial.
Absolutely. So let's kind of go through some of the sinus stuff. So off the bat with the sinus, you can also do Xlear too, which is great. It's a combination of grapefruit seed extract and xylitol, which xylitol is an anti-biofilm kind of type of sugar alcohol. And it also has an effect of being antibacterial. So that's excellent.
What is it called?
Xlear or Xylear, Xylear. We'll put links below the video and then in the transcription, and we'll put some Amazon product links too. So if you guys want to support us, you can get some of the things that we're talking about through our affiliate links.
Perfect.
And these are things that I've all used to. Anything we talk about or recommend are things that I've personally done myself or have seen my patients do it with great success. So we're all about clinical results first. So Xlear is great, or Xylear, however you pronounce that. Next is going to be, Dave Asprey's got a good bulletproof sinus rinse, which is really good. You get a big salad bowl. We'll put the link for this too. You put a whole bunch of just gently warm water in there. You do about 1/4 teaspoon of some high quality salt, sea salt in there, and a couple of drops of iodine for the most part. And then you're going to dip your head upside down in it, and you're going to breathe, or you're going to suck that in through the nose. Keep your mouth out of the water, of course. Suck it in through the nose. So it'll kind of feel like you're drowning. Not the nicest feeling, but that'll be really, really helpful. So 1/2 teaspoon of high quality sea salt for every cup of water. That'll prevent bacterial overgrowth. You can add a little bit of iodine and or a little bit of xylitol. So basically you're going to do the whole little dippy bird. You'll tip your head back. Don't tilt your head back or you'll gag. So keep your spine parallel to the floor. And then you're going to breathe in through the nose And I will put the protocol down below. So blink your eyes a few times. The iodine will sterilize the lining of your eyes if you get it in your eyes. So be careful with the iodine in your eyes, and that will significantly help clean out. And I'll put the protocol down below as well. Next, you can do a nasaline as well. And I'll do the nasaline with the Neti Xlear, or the Neti's Lear, which is potassium bicarb, some salt, and xylitol, and a little bit of, I think that's pretty much it. And it goes into the solution, and then you can pump it through with a nasaline, which is basically a plunger for your nose. So a neti pot's one thing, but you just pour it, and it's gravity that goes through. The nasaline, it goes in one nostril, and then it's a plunger where you push it, so you get full contact of the sinus canal, and then it will go through and rinse everything with full contact.
That seems way better than the neti pot. I'm glad you brought that up because my wife, she did the neti pot and something happened. I think she had some weird drainage, and I think that actually led to her getting like kind of an ear pain from the neti pot. So what you're talking about sounds way better.
Well, think about it, right? This is like your sinus canal, right? And we're putting water in there. The water is going to just hit the bottom part, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. But if you get a plunger in there and you're plunging it with actual pressure, it's going to have full contact of that sinus canal. So better chance of getting all of the debris out.
And that's called what?
That's called a nasaline. We'll put the link below. We'll put it in with the references, but that's going to be great. That's a really good product that I've had a lot of patients use with great success. So you have the bulletproof sinus wrench, you have the nasaline. If you already have a neti, you can feel free and do the neti. And the key thing is just using the minerals, using the xylitol, and or adding some iodine, and or just adding some silver. Like a simple thing you can do too is just lie back, 10 drops in each nostril, 3 to 4 times a day of high quality silver. You know, in my line, it's GI Clear 3 that we use, and that has I think the 15 to 20 ppm of nano silver, not colloidal, but it's nano. And again, don't worry about argyria or turning blue with that. That's going to primarily happen from your homemade silver products.
Why is nano silver better than colloidal? You got a lot of people promoting and selling colloidal out there, but can you tell us why nano is superior?
Just the structure of it. It's a different structure. Instead of a colloidal structure, it's a nano structure. So you're going to get better absorption for the most part.
So it sounds like it's going to be tinier the way that it's going to be structured.
Yeah, and you can go look at, I think it's Dr. Gordon Peterson. He's an immunologist that's talked a lot about this kind of silver, and he's helped formulate that kind of silver. So the nano silver in my line, GI Clear 3 is the one we like to help with that.
Love it. Should we answer any couple questions? We had a question about goat cheese. For me, dairy's dairy, regardless of the animal. I'd say pull it out, especially if you are struggling. You're better to just go completely dairy-free for 30 to 60 days.
People asking the questions, try to keep it pertinent to the podcast so we can connect it here. And then regarding ghee's definitely a good first dairy to add in. So if you think you're dairy sensitive, you can pull the dairy out for a few weeks to a month, and the first thing you add back in should be ghee. Ghee's clarify butter, so they suck out the lactose part, they suck out the casein part, all you got's the butter fat. So you have basically, very little casein, maybe microscopic levels, and very little lactose. So it's going to be even better than butter per se. And then if you do good with ghee, then you can try a little bit of grass-fed Kerrygold butter, which will have very tiny amounts of lactose and very tiny amounts of casein, which may be acceptable level for you. For me, I can do good quality grass-fed butter without a problem. Cheese though, cheese and even raw milk, man, I don't do good with those. I really don't. Skin breakouts, gas, bloating, not good. But I can do great with ghee and great with grass-fed butter.
Isn't it amazing though? I mean, just that one simple swap you got on me. You were like, Evan, man, you've got to get rid of the cheese, because I would talk you through, what kind of, you and I will talk off air about what you eat, what are you doing diet-wise, what's working. And I told you, man, I'm doing this organic cheese. And I don't know if I would say I was having sinus issues, but I definitely had some, I guess I would call it head pressure, basically kind of like a mild headache in the front of my head. I did not know that was caused from dairy, and it was.
Your skin looks 1,000 times better since you cut a lot of that cheese out. I mean, it's
I
great.
feel good.
Yeah,
and I cut out corn too. Now I will do a little bit of some organic blue corn chips, maybe once a month or something. Now they just taste so good.
All right, that's really one paleo demerit right there.
Hey, one demerit. Hey, I know you've done some corn in 2017, right? A little bit.
Well, I mean, up the street is a Mexican restaurant called Marty's, and we'll do a little bit of their gluten-free organic corn chips that are like in a plastic bag, so it's totally away, so there's no cross-contamination. So I will, from time to time, as a little reward. It's Friday, little NorCal margarita, maybe a Dr. J's Moscow Mule. Yeah, absolutely.
Love it.
Add it to the list.
And now is that now is that blue or is that yellow corn? I may be one upping you on the blue here.
Yeah, I think it's probably just the yellow, but it's least organic and GMO free, which is essential.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monty's is good. And what was it? Taco Deli down there in Austin. They've got organic, pasture-raised pork shoulder tacos. Unbelievable. Have you had those?
I've not. Taco Deli?
Oh my God, you've got to go, man. It's off of, I want to say it's off of 360. Shouldn't be too far from you. And they do organic, tortillas as well.
Love it.
It's pasture-raised pork. So
love it. Very cool. So let's kind of summarize. All right, so you're coming into this here and you've missed the whole 45-minute chat. So what are the key take-homes? Diet, of course, refined sugar, dairy, gluten, grains, cut that out. If that's not enough, you can go do an autoimmune template where we cut out nuts, seeds, nightshades, and eggs. You're left with meat, vegetables, maybe a little bit of low-sugar fruit, maybe a little bit of starch, and healthy fats minus dairy, and nut and seeds. So that's our good first step if we need. Now, after that, there's some preparation and things that we can do ahead of time, but may not help you in the moment. That's the healthy pregnancy. That's the stress. That's getting the vaginal canal in contact with the baby on the way out to activate the immune system. That's the good quality breast milk. That's all that good stuff there. And then keep the mom's nutritional density high when she's breastfeeding, because that becomes the building blocks to a lot of the raw material in the breast milk. You know, my expression is you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit, right?
Yeah.
So if you've got crappy quality ingredients going in that mom, guess what? You can't make this awesome breast milk with bad ingredients. So let's really keep the quality high. Next, we have for the sinuses, you have structural issues. You can do the nasal specific chiropractic techniques. You can do adjusting of the spine and or the whole, the neck as well, especially the upper cervical area, and then adjusting the eustachian tube to help increase the angle to allow the ear to drain. All right, now we have the rinses for the sinuses. We have the bulletproof rinse. We have colloidal silver for the sinuses, and we also can do a hydrogen peroxide and water 50-50 split and do drops in the nose 4 times a day, 10 drops. And then we also have the ear. We can do the Semelsins homeopathic. We can do the citricidal. We can do the hydrogen peroxide. We can also do the silver, and then you can also do a little bit of garlic oil in there as well. What do you think, Evan? I think we just hit it all at once.
Yeah, that was good. And treat the gut too.
Of course.
Yeah,
and the best things, the supplements you can use on your baby if they're a newborn, Infantis probiotic. Infantis is a specific type of probiotic. One that we like is Therabiotic Complete for kids. That's a great one for kiddos. And again, that can be powder. So you can just put it on your finger and then you can just put it in the gums, or if you're breastfeeding, you can put it in the nipple area and have the child get it from that. And then also give it to the mom, and that will help with any potential translocation via the breast milk as well.
I will say one last thing about breast milk, and this is probably only going to apply to maybe just a few listeners, but there are breast milk donation services out there where for some reason, if the mother's just too busy, she's working too much. I've seen women going and getting breast milk from other moms. I would never do that for my baby, because who knows what that mom's diet is like? Who knows how much glyphosate is in that if the mother is not eating organic? We know, I just chatted with Dr. William Shaw on my podcast. We're talking about parts per billion of glyphosate, which is what's used on non-organic produce, parts per billion being enough to disrupt gut bacteria and kill beneficial bacteria in the gut, which can lead to these ear infections. And so for me, I would never, ever, ever, unless there was just something so wrong with the mother that she could not feed the baby her breast milk and she had to get another mom's breast milk, I would literally have to do an interview process of that mother. Is your diet organic? Are you eating gluten? Are you eating dairy? Because breast milk is not all created equal, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's really simple. You just pay a little bit more money and you provide that food for that mother who's donating the milk, if that's your only option. I mean, at least for the first 6 months, what you're doing there for 6 months for your kid is a better investment than paying for college or any of that. That's like the best investment. So if you're in that position and you have to do that, then definitely find someone, the Leche League's a really good reference for that, but really find high quality breast milk if you need. There's some Weston A. Price recipes where you can do some homemade breast milk with liver extract and cod liver oil and raw milk or raw goat's milk. But then also, if the mom can't breastfeed, there's typically something wrong from a stress perspective and from a diet perspective. So really look at getting the diet fixed. I see a lot of women who go low fat have problems with producing breast milk. So That's really, really important. And then don't quit. Like, don't quit. Like, can you imagine like evolutionary times where like foods like, you can't, you didn't have like formula, you didn't have all these things. So like if you couldn't breastfeed your kid, like what would you do?
That was it. You're done.
That's it. They can't eat solid food, right? Too young. What do? Right. So maybe there'd be another woman in the tribe that you'd give the baby off to and they would lactate for you. But ideally, you got to get the diet right. You got to get the stress right. And then also make sure that the inflammatory foods are out of there. So the highest quality nutrients are coming through.
Yeah, it sounds like we'll have to do a whole like breastfeeding or optimal baby podcast, but I've heard many women they've completely just given up on breastfeeding because they said they were too stressed or too busy or something like that. But you've really got to try to modify that to make it possible because
we'll do a whole podcast on this. We'll do a whole podcast on it, but there's a lot of nutrients. There's a lot of things you can do like fenugreek and there's, mother's milk tea. There's all kinds of things. And also get a doula. If you're having a hard time, get a doula. There's so many things. Like most women, it's like, oh, I tried and it's done. No, get a doula. Like try for days. Get someone who's done it so many times. They know all the tips and tricks to make it happen.
Yep.
And that's coming from someone that, wasn't breastfed ideally long enough. So I'm really passionate about getting that information out there.
Me too. Well, we'll send people back to your website. They can type in justinhealth.com to check out Justin and schedule consults with him. We deal with this stuff all the time, every single week in the clinic. And my website, notjustpaleo.com, or just Google our names, Justin Marchegiani, Evan Brand. You'll find us. And make sure you subscribe here on the YouTube channel. Justin's over 25,000 subscribers on YouTube. Congrats. Let's make sure we push that closer to 100 grand because this is important information that is not readily available. Even in 2017, somebody's going to go down the street to the clinic and maybe regret the mode of action that was taken. So we want to save you from that.
Absolutely. Any other questions you want to answer in the queue there, Evan?
I don't think so. Was there any for you?
Again, someone said, Sam asked about probiotics for a 7-year-old. I'd probably still go with the Infantis, but you're going to have a blend of Lactobacillus, Bifidobacter, and the Infantis in there. So you're probably good with that one I recommended.
Yeah. And I would say for a 7-year-old too, believe it or not, I had a 3-year-old little girl that I just got her stool test back and she had 2 parasites and candida and bacterial overgrowth. So, I mean, if the 7-year-old's got symptoms, go ahead and get a GI map stool test on her because I wouldn't be surprised if she's had antibiotics in her 7 years of life. She might have some type of overgrowth already. And you just don't want to come in and just try to fix it with a probiotic. A lot of times that won't be enough. You can't just out probiotic your way out of an infection, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And the easiest way to get kids eating healthy, and again, this may, sound kind of maybe patronizing, right? But it's 100% true. Number one, don't have crap in the house. Clean out all the crap in the house. Number 2, you have family meals together and you role model what good eating looks like. The mom and dad, they sit down, they have their meal, and they role model what it looks like. And the whole idea, once the kid's eating solid food and they actually have teeth and they can chew and stuff, the whole idea of buying baby food versus kids foods once the mastication's dialed in is ridiculous, right? They should be eating adult food and just, cut it up smaller and make it really easy to digest. But those foods need to be done as well. And you just role model it to the kid and you just parrot it back. And the kid wants to be like the mom and the dad, and they're going to want to do what the parents are doing. So you role model it and you create the really good environment and family meals.
You want to know something funny? And we're getting off topic, but it's Friday, so we're having fun.
It all connects back to that because if we don't get the diet right? You're going to have sinus infections and ear infections all day long.
100%. So it is on topic. Yeah, for sure. So my wife and I, we were discussing last night. I said, well, when do you make the transition from baby foods over to solid foods, from pureed foods to real foods? And she said, they tell you. And our daughter, she's starting to fuss about the pureed foods, and she's trying to grab off mom's plate. So like last night, for example, we did some steamed broccoli. We had some peas and carrots that we did for lunch with our veggies, and we did some meats. And we gave her own little plate of peas with some butter on there and some carrots and some broccoli, and she ate it up insane. And she's 10 months old. And I thought, oh my Lord, look at her appetite. She's probably been starving to death, waiting for real food. She's like, I'm sick of this pureed crap. Give me some real food.
Exactly. Plus the teeth are coming in. So it's a natural progression, right?
Yeah.
That it's 6 months. You may start to add in some smushed peas, some smushed avocado. 95% of it doesn't get in the mouth. It's more that tactile play experience, but then eventually it gets in there and then the teeth come out and then you can start to introduce it. And you're doing a great job with how you're doing it, keeping it mashed, keeping it simple, staying away from the hyper allergenic foods. That's great.
Yep. So we gave her a little bit of chicken yesterday too, which she did fine with. It was very plain, not much seasoning on it, just some baked little pieces of some baked chicken thighs, and she loved it. She ate it up. So it's a lot of fun to eat healthy.
Awesome, Evan. Well, it's a great little Friday here in Austin. I'll be doing a little water skiing this weekend. I'm really excited about that. Any plans for you?
Well, we're gonna go scope out some eco-friendly paint and flooring options and figure out what we can do about this house. So
love it, man. Excited about it. Keep me posted. And everyone listening, we appreciate your attendance. If you like these live ones, these live podcasts, give us feedback. Let us know. Like it, share it. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes as well. We'll repost them on iTunes. If you're listening to iTunes right now and you want to see Evan and I going back and forth, duking it out in the flesh, click the link below so you can watch the YouTube link. And we're excited to continue to do more of these and share more information.
Take care. Have a great weekend.
Evan, my man, take care, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to beyondwellnessradio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.